Just do it.
Hello.
Okay. Even if somebody's running late, we'll still be here in a moment. Welcome to Talking Time with Caffeine, a podcast where we talk about stuff. Speaking of stuff, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
It's doing decent. I'm normal, I guess.
I like your shirt.
Thanks. Funny thing though, I didn't watch this movie until years later. Because at the time, the Toby Spider-Man 3 had burnt me out.
Yeah.
And the second reason was since Gwen was the love interest and I knew what happened to Gwen, I didn't want to see that happen. Like, nope, not going to watch somebody die.
Yeah, no. I saw the first Amazing Spider-Man in the theater, have called it the meh Spider-Man ever since, and never saw the second one. Well, now we looked out. My cat wants out.
Gwen dies.
Well, no kidding. Yes, I see you. Go. Sorry, she got this thing where I open the door and she meows at me like, I want out now. Like,
Wild
the door
Maya
is
appears.
Cat.
Hi, Maya.
Oh.
All right. I'm sorry. I was talking to my mom, and you know how girls are.
Both of you were, well, Jillian was parenting and you were daughtering.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom texted me yesterday, and she was like, "I haven't seen you forever. Who are you?" And I'm like, "I tired."
Yeah, I expect to be hearing from my mom any day now, remembering that that the holidays are a thing and we should make plans for them.
Yeah, that's what she was trying to get me to like. She's like, "Well, what's your dish?" And I'm like, "I don't have a dish. Just tell me what you want me to make." And like, she wouldn't tell me. She was like, "Well, everybody has a dish." I'm like,
Stuffing. It's my dish.
Okay. I don't know. Just pick something. I'll make it. I don't know.
Oh, my sister makes it. My sister makes veggie pizza. It's awesome. It's a thing with crescent rolls, cream cheese, cheese, and carrots and pepperonis.
Okay.
And sounds very Midwestern.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I am Midwestern.
I'm aware.
Oh, so I don't know if we're going to. So our topic today, I don't know if we're going to get into it in your slideshow, but is the Southern strategy similar or different from what people call the party switch?
It is what drove the party switch.
Right.
Technically, only the bits under Nixon are officially called the Southern strategy.
Technically.
But if you really look into the history, it was clear for a long time what was going on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Me being from Ohio and Jillian, I don't know, it doesn't affect me that much, I guess. But for Jillian being from the West Coast, I don't know if that affects you or not. What about you, Maya? Did this affect you at all?
What, the Southern strategy?
Yeah. I know where you're from.
It affects everybody. It affected everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it was government propaganda. There's nobody it didn't affect.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to dox you by. I don't know where you're from.
No,
but,
I'm not.
You're
right, but it doesn't really matter where you're from. From Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine. It affected you,
especially because of the focus on things like the presidential race and controlling Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And like, no, my local school board, for example, was a lot more influenced by just the demographics of the people who lived in my school district than by who was running for school district in like Alabama. However, a lot of policies I have lived with my whole life have been because of the Southern strategy. Especially as a disabled person. Because, and this is on the slides, but starting in the 80s, the shift started, what they would use as a code phrase was things like welfare queen.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of benefits cuts are tied towards racism. And yes, I'm white, but they still affect me because they were a way to sell racism without saying the word racism.
Yeah, and that was part and parcel of. I'm sorry, I'm hearing an echo. It was part and parcel of the Southern strategy. It was how they. It's old tactic. And yeah, it was, and what Jillian's saying is like how it morphed, but we still have it going on today. When they talk about, the just last month on Fox News, there are people, with talking heads saying women with SNAP benefits just use it to get their hair done and their nails done. That is a call to Black women. They're trying to say that only Black women need SNAP, and all they do with it is by, like none of them use it. Yeah, they don't use it to feed children.
Which, side note, you cannot pay. You can't even buy toilet paper on SNAP.
Nope. And so, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Yeah, people sell their SNAP like, so you'll give it to people and they'll say, well, I want to get $25 worth of food. And then they'll give you $25 for it. And the cost benefit for them would be that you don't have to pay taxes with food stamps. It's just $25 worth of food is 20. So you're getting more food for the money. And so people who don't have SNAP cards like that, obviously. But the benefit then would be, okay, now I have $25 for toothpaste, toilet paper, things that, if I have any job at all, I'm not, I can't get TANF, which is cash assistance. So, if my entire paycheck is just going to rent, probably one whole paycheck is going to rent. And then another one is going towards bills, including like gas in the car and, as well as like electricity and, cables, phone bill, cable, I consider that all valid. But if both of your paychecks are going to bills, it doesn't leave you with room for anything at the gas station, at the grocery store, which is important. And we don't make allowances for, unless somebody is just completely without a job.
Yeah. Okay. Off topic real fast. I was thinking, I guess people do it. Is cable a thing? Is cable really a thing anymore?
Well, I mean, I say cable. I guess I mean internet because I still call it the cable bill because I'm old.
Technically, we have cable because we have a package that makes it cheaper to have both than to just have internet.
Yeah.
So technically, we still have cable. We just don't use it.
Yeah, I was solely phased off of it at first. I had the 3 packets deal, then like went to the thing, and then
triple play.
Like, only 10. I went to a 10 channel deal. Like, I barely watch 10 channels as this. I'll just keep the 10 channel deal, and then whatever basic 10. Then basically I'm just okay. Hulu and Crunchyroll, whatever. I just watch it from there from now on.
Yeah, there may be a new internet company operating in our area, which would let us drop Comcast, which would make me so happy.
Yeah. But yeah, and so when I say the internet cable bill, and I think that's valid, I guess I'm really thank you for pointing that out.
sorry, you froze. But I'm going to interject that I also think the cable bill is valid because poor people deserve to have fun.
Right.
But
we're waiting for Maya to unfreeze or reboot or whatever she needs to do. Do you want to start? You want to share your slideshow?
I can share my slideshow. Give me just a second here to remember how to do it. Share screen. Share. It's gonna go streamception for just a second. There we go. Let's tell it to view the slideshow. There we go. The Southern Strategy: How the Republican Party Embraced Racism. And like, there are people who will tell you that this is a bold claim. Those people are wrong. That's what this was all about. It was, we know that racism will win us seats.
But Jillian, the Democrats were the KKK founders and stuff.
Oh, would you believe that I start there? This is where you remember Jillian has college credit in this. You know, I'm not like 100% an expert, but I know more than the average person. So this is a quote from one of the strategists working with Richard Nixon. And there are words in there that are not the proper terminology anymore, but I guess they at least could be worse. From now on, the Republicans are never going to get more than 10 to 20% of the Negro vote, and they don't need any more than that. But Republicans would be short-sighted if they weakened enforcement of the Voting Rights Act. Not that anyone has ever accused the current Republican Party of being short-sighted, except for everyone. The more Negroes who register as Democrats in the South, the sooner the Negrophobe whites will quit the Democrats and become Republicans. That's where the votes are. Without that prodding from the blacks, the whites will backslide into their old comfortable arrangement with the local Democrats. Kevin Phillips, Republican strategist, 1970. This was from an interview with the New York Times. This is not some secret hush-hush behind the scenes, this is what we believe. The man said this with his whole chest to the national media.
Sorry, what you call it, the light, what you call it, blinked. Electricity or whatever. The lights went out for like 2 seconds, but it was enough to take down my computer.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Timing.
All right. Sorry to have to make you backtrack. What did I miss?
The previous, this is the second slide. The previous one was my title, which is The Southern Strategy: How the Republican Party Embraced Racism.
And then I made a joke. Yep. But Jillian, the Democrats started KKK.
Which, as I said, we'll get there. But I found this quote while I was putting this slideshow together and felt that it needed to be something people saw, because this was from an interview with the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
This was not hiding behind the scenes or racism.
No, racism wasn't a dog whistle until really recently. I want to say like late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, and they were saying at this time that you couldn't say certain words that I will not say.
Right.
Anymore. That stopped being okay in the 50s, which is a take. But this was... The only part of this that I think is kind of funny is the idea that the Republicans shouldn't weaken enforcement of the Voting Rights Act because it would be short-sighted. But, you know, whoever accused the current Republican Party of being short-sighted?
Yeah, and I think it would be short-sighted to think that the Republican Party has been the way it is now always, because, even in the 80s, it was, while it hid its racism, we'll say that.
Yeah.
The parties were much more united before Trump.
Yes. Yeah. I remember when, no, my mother would never have voted for Reagan, not least because she was a California Democrat. She remembered what he'd been like as governor. No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like, my dad was a Republican and my mom was still willing to marry him.
Yeah. That's been normal.
Yeah,
That's been normal. Yeah. For a lot of families like that.
Back in 2016, the first term,
mm-hmm.
when he was still bad, wasn't, I don't say he's the same or as worse. Maybe he is. I'm trying to say, but
he's a lot more mask off.
Even back then, there were like people who disliked Bush II was like, I miss Bush II compared to Trump.
Yeah, I won't say I miss Reagan, but I definitely miss Bush the Elder.
Reagan, I think we're finding was highly influenced by the Heritage Foundation. So
yes.
it would be, I think it would be really interesting to see what kind of a presidency he would have had if that weren't true. Like if they had never existed.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what he did was stripping people's, it was a lot of trickle down economics. It was, like that kind of talk where we've never done this before. Let's just try it. And people are like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. That was his whole presidency. And the rich knew how it would turn out. And, but like if we had, God, even Nixon was like a better president than Reagan. Which I know sounds weird to say. It's like, oh my God, he was the only one that was impeached. But he actually did have, he commissioned, he had a commission look into, oh God, it was something about rights for Black people. I forget the name of it. But there were a number, this was around the time of like the Civil Rights Act. So, around the time of Nixon, like a lot of people had a hard time. A lot of states were more purple. Yeah. Because the parties more or less had the same platform. It was candidates in certain areas that were problematic.
Yeah, I think until recently Ohio was purple, but now it's
no. Ohio has always been purple until Trump.
Yeah, but with Nixon versus Reagan, it's such a rush to the bottom that deciding which one was better or worse, I'm like, I don't know if it really matters.
I mean, I'm not siding with the guy that wanted to continue the apartheid in South Africa, even after every other nation abandoned it.
No, it's very true. My running joke has always been that, you can tell that the invasion in the Falkland Islands was bad because even Reagan was like, Thatcher, are you sure you want to do this? Okay, so next screen, the Solid South. Because the Republicans were the party of Lincoln, and that is true. That is just a statement of fact. Lincoln was a Republican.
Yeah.
The South rejected the Republican Party and remained Democrats as they had been before the war. Southern Republicans were scalawags, which was white Southerners who voted Republican, or Northern-born carpetbaggers, or, worse to the white establishment, actually Black.
Yeah.
The 14th Amendment, in theory, guaranteed Black men the vote. In practice, it was ignored. The establishment remained white and democratic. And male.
I thought it was the 15th Amendment.
14th is citizenship. All people born in the United States are citizens.
Or citizens by birth. Birthright citizenship, yeah. That's
birthright citizenship. It's one of the three big Civil War era amendments, 13th, 14th, 15th.
If you want to know more about that, go check out our mini-series on it.
It's hard for me to think of it as a mini-series, given it is literally like 24 hours long, but yes. To be fair, it wasn't all recorded at once, but yes. Literally, if you want to sit and listen to me talk about the Constitution for a full day, you can do that.
You could do that. But the 15th Amendment, it guarantees the right to vote. Like states can't. What does it say? Like if you're a citizen, you have the right to vote, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, male citizen, but.
And the 14th Amendment.
Fair enough. We don't get to women until the 19th. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But
And I am not educated enough on the subject to talk about Native American citizenship and the vote and all of that, because that's a whole other topic, and I'm over here, not knowing enough to have that conversation.
Yeah, I wish we had vocal natives in the community, because I would love to pick their brain.
Seriously, I'd really like to just sit and listen to somebody who knew their stuff on that subject talk.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a thing. The Solid South was a term that was used, and arguably you still could. It's just, flipped.
Yeah, for a long time I did not know what those terms actually meant. I heard of carpetbaggers.
Oh,
I knew they were people down south, but
they didn't teach you that in school?
Ohio had it very limited.
I remember high school. Don't ask me which grade, but I remember testing on it.
Junior year. Because freshman year was world history, and sophomore year I did California history and psychology. So that leaves junior year to be U.S. history.
Stands to reason. I would guess either sophomore or junior year. Yeah.
Looking back, I think I had a very basic history knowledge. Just
high school.
Yeah,
north one. That's Ohio was north one. We won.
Okay.
You know what?
That is
it's
true.
All true as far as it goes. You're good.
But it's weird. I think it's before that. For being a Union state at the time, I see a lot of Confederate flags in Ohio now.
Yeah, there is.
Wait, can you say that again? You feel what?
It says being a Union state, Ohio being a Union state of the Civil War. I see a lot of Confederate flags up here now.
Yeah, well, and I living in Maryland, I was really surprised at how they would actually fight. If you ask them if Maryland was a northern or a southern state, the locals will fight amongst each other about that. Because, it was a Confederate state, but there's so many northern influences. Like, if you actually go down south, like Southerners who come to Maryland, like it's not going to feel like a southern state. So
historically, the answer to is Maryland a northern or a southern state is yes.
Right. Because Maryland, again, being so close to Washington, D.C., had a lot of free blacks.
Yeah, wasn't Maryland one of the states that still like slavery but stayed with the Union?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because if they had seceded, then Washington, D.C. would have been completely surrounded because Virginia seceded.
Yeah, I want to say that they switched though, didn't they?
No, they were, I mean, there were, Lincoln had to hide on his way to his inauguration because there was a plot to kill him in Maryland, but they remained a Union state the entire time.
Okay.
Yeah, I do wonder if they did switch, if the Capital Confederacy would have been Washington, D.C.
Quite possibly.
No, maybe. They had there was a, they had a capital.
Yeah, Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah. I was going to say somewhere in Virginia.
It was like only 10 miles away or something.
It was very close. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how far it is, but it was.
I mean, Richmond is DC adjacent, so I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if it was the tip. It was still too close.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't take it. Yeah, we couldn't take it for. Yeah, we couldn't take it for 5 years.
I blame McClellan. If you're a Civil War historian, that joke was very funny. I promise.
Sorry.
No. You know how my running joke is with English history? I blame Henry VIII for things.
Mm-hmm.
With the Civil War, blaming McClellan for things is usually a safe bet.
Oh, okay.
He
When in
was
doubt, yeah.
Yeah. He was the general of the Union forces. He got fired, I think, twice.
And ran as the Democratic Party in 1964.
Yeah, he ran for president in 1964, the first election in which there was much in the way of absentee voting, and this because of the soldiers, and they overwhelmingly voted for Lincoln. So, yeah.
A whisper says, alternatively, blame Canada.
I mean, that's also possible.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like he was actually responsible for a lot of BS.
Oh, yeah, no. One of my favorite Lincoln quotes is, if McClellan isn't using the army, I should like to borrow it for a while.
Nice.
Speaking of, on topic again, Civil War. Another Civil War thing I found out recently was when Grant took over the army. He didn't replace what's his name. He went over him.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now.
Well, there were a lot of generals, and it was basically who had the highest position in the army that was what mattered.
The guy from Gettysburg.
Oh gosh, is that Meade? Is that Hooker?
I think that's Meade. Yeah, Meade wasn't still in charge of the Army of Potomac, but I guess Grant just lived there, but he was the army of everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, scalawags was the term that was used for white Southerners
that like black people.
That didn't hate black people as much as other white Southerners.
Right.
Let's be very clear on our term here.
In the past, everyone was racist. You just got to start there.
And the northern people who came south were called carpetbaggers because they carried their belongings in a carpet, like Mary Poppins has in the movie Mary Poppins, in a carpet bag.
Interesting.
It was literally a suitcase made out of carpet.
Huh.
And a lot of them were poor, looking for opportunity, which, you know what? I'm not shaming them for that. Some of them were actually deliberately coming south to improve the lives of former slaves, which is, also a good thing. But it didn't matter why they were in the South. They were Northerners, and the white Southern establishment hated them. Okay, and then we have the Great Migration and blaming Herbert Hoover, who was another convenient person to blame if you're looking for someone.
So this is on the years 70s, 80s, 90s.
Starting with Hoover, the National Republican Party began
60 years later.
Yeah. Began to see the appeal of switching their allegiance from black people whose votes were suppressed to white people who were doing the suppressing. Yeah. However, Hoover was voted out in a landslide with the onset of the Great Depression. Meanwhile, thousands, and I know that's a low number, but I didn't want to look up the actual number because I was kind of in a hurry. Tens, hundreds, whatever, thousands of black people were moving out of the South, changing demographics, throughout the country. Northern black votes could be counted on in a way that Southern black ones could not, though not all northern areas let black people vote. Let's, be clear about our expectations here.
This was still a time of the
Klan membership was rampant across the country. It was really big in Indiana. Union State, Indiana. Starting in the 1920s, the Republican Party in the South began restructuring to all-white leadership. up until this point, Southern Republican leadership had been what was called a black and tan coalition. And starting in the 1920s, they went with what was called a lily white coalition. And I don't think I have to draw a picture of what was going on to change the names.
Yeah. No, there were a lot of massacres taking place during that time. That
Yes.
just conveniently get, whitewashed, I guess is the best term. Because you'll have these things. It's like, oh, well, it's like, well, okay, instead of tapping a black man to, take a position, they just decided to tap white people. Like, no, there were black people voted in, and they would actually force them to resign at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, was this around the time of the progressive Republicans like Teddy Roosevelt, or was it after this?
This is after. This is the teens and 20s is when this is really started.
Yeah.
The town of Rosewood, Florida was completely wiped off the map during this time. And the Tulsa massacre is around this time.
Mm-hmm.
Which I had a professor in college who was from Tulsa and didn't hear about that until he was an adult.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'd think it would at least make the rounds amongst black people. Like, there's
he wasn't black. So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. He was white and part Native American. His mom actually went to a school, which she would never talk about because she was so ashamed of what had happened to her.
Okay.
And her ancestry by that point.
Yeah.
I think I remember that. I think they did that, something like that, on the Extra Credits channel, talking about that.
Yeah.
That event.
So, you get the Great Migration. You get these people moving out of the South because they can now. There was a trickle of some free blacks and as many slaves as could reasonably escape. I'm like, look, I don't shame anyone who did not escape as a slave because I would not have been capable of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Was that because of that sharecropping thing they started doing?
Well, a lot of people ran out on their sharecropping arrangements.
Oh.
Because legally you could be, arrested for, I'm not sure what charge they would have cited it as, but if you ran out leaving debt to your white landowner, which the system was structured so you did,
yeah,
they could throw you in prison for that. And 13th Amendment only made slavery illegal unless you were a prisoner. So,
Yeah,
but,
and also during this time, you had a lot of Southern states that it was crazy. Like, black people would only go to and from work, and then they would have a note just stating, I'm going to my, like, you had to be seen going to work. If you're out and about and you were not on your way to or from work, you could be picked up for vagrancy.
Yeah.
And then thrown in jail. I mean, just absolutely anything, really. I know that, I think, is it Tennessee, I think, where prison slavery work was like 10% of the state's economy, like the money coming in. Yeah, coming in from the state. It was, just anything. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a way, leaving the South, no, it wasn't anywhere near as risky as escaping from actual slavery, but Lord, it wasn't safe.
Right.
It still took a lot of courage to say, you know what, maybe I'm going to Chicago now. Or LA. LA had a huge black population starting around this time. Obviously it still has a huge black population, but this is when it started really exploding.
Right.
Chicago, a lot of the big cities up north, Detroit.
Right. Detroit was a big one. But any like industry, people heard that there were jobs, and so they migrated. Chicago and Detroit were really big because of, I think, car manufacturing, or and then also Baltimore and Pennsylvania because of steel mills, and New York, obviously. But
anywhere with industry where you didn't need to be a college graduate,
Right.
because most of these people hadn't had the opportunity to get really any education. Huge numbers of these people were almost certainly illiterate, simply because where would they have learned to read?
Yeah.
No opportunities, so they left.
They learned to
And
read
that was
in their school, the segregated school system, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. I don't know if you've read "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings."
I read that. Oh my gosh, in high school. I don't remember a lot
Yeah.
of it.
She spent a lot of her childhood in Arkansas with her grandmother.
Maya Angelou, she's talking about.
Yeah. And her description of living in that area and going to that segregated school and knowing how intelligent some of her classmates were and knowing that there was nothing for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But let's preserve the system instead of giving, everyone the best opportunity they can get, I guess.
Yeah, and you have to also remember around this time, after the Great Depression, billionaires were chopping at the bit to get their money back. And it was really hard to convince a lot of white people that, they should give all of their possessions to the rich.
Yeah.
And so you get this, the prosperity preachers really took off in the 50s, which was a lot easier because due to other circumstances, but the economic wealth started coming in after the war. And then white people were like, oh yeah, I like this, where I can be, what do you call it? Having money, keeping money.
By God.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas before in the 30s, 40s, 30s and 40s, people were dirt poor. And it was insanely common for preachers to preach the Beatitudes, that you be good to one another, to promote this network and connection, even if amongst white people.
Yeah.
Speaking of the war,
became a really admirable thing starting in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of the war, I heard that was one of the reasons that some Black people started realizing that they didn't actually have rights that they said they had, because they went to Europe and, like, as the soldiers were like, hey, we can actually do stuff over here.
Well, that starts even in World War I.
Yeah.
Now, Maya also had her some things, not you, Maya, but other Maya, had her some things to say about how actual African Black people were treated in France, even after World War II. But American Black people were treated much better in France than they were in the U.S.
And also, oh my gosh, what was that one? Oh, the banana dancing lady. I feel so bad that I forgot her name.
Baker.
Thank you. Yes, her.
You're welcome.
She moved to France because even though she saw the disparities, it was there were disparities, but nothing like in America.
It was still better. And also she worked as a spy during World War II. I love Josephine Baker.
She's amazing.
So
yeah, I mean, Europe's always been xenophobic, but it's been more on land, like were you born on this land more than what color is your skin. So
racism is a complicated thing and it's not static.
No.
I got yelled at once for pointing out that in the 1950s, someone born in Spain was not really considered white by the majority of Americans.
Right.
But it's kind of true, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know why anyone would yell at you. I mean, we have documentation of it.
You know what? I've been yelled at for pointing out so many historical facts. I don't even.
Fair.
Yeah, there has been that thing between Mediterranean Europeans and Northern Europeans.
No. There's no conflict there whatsoever. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is like they get encompassed once you get a couple of generations out, because you can't tell an Irishman from an Englishman when there's no accent to, call them out. So it's just like, fuck it. I guess you're going to be one of us now. And you can get away with that for so long. They're trying to do something now where some Hispanics get the, I don't know, enveloped by whiteness. It'll be interesting to see if and how they pull that off. But
isn't that how they started the Columbus Day stuff, by trying to be inclusive to Italians?
Yeah, Columbus Day was really an effort to make Italians white.
Okay, and that's a lie. And the lie detector detected that that's a lie.
So now we have Hayden Franklin Roosevelt. Well, Franklin's own belief, and normally I go with last name, but when you're talking about Roosevelt's, you kind of have to use a first name. Well, Franklin's own beliefs weren't exactly anti-racist. Eleanor was an outspoken supporter for equal rights. New Deal programs were not entirely desegregated, but they were more desegregated than many white Southerners liked. While hatred for the Roosevelts was along class lines in some places, in the South, there were racial divisions as well.
Was FDR the Panama Canal guy?
That's TR.
That was his cousin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whose FDR, whose niece FDR married.
Yeah. Franklin and Theodore were like fifth cousins once removed or something like that. But
Okay.
Eleanor was literally Theodore's niece. He gave her away at her wedding to Franklin.
Interesting.
Yeah. FDR was too busy being racist to Japanese people to be racist to black people.
That is only about 80% true, but he still found a little time. Yeah. But, there's the story of Eleanor going to Tuskegee and asking one of the Tuskegee airmen to give her a ride in his airplane.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine how scared that guy had to have been.
Right.
Like, oh, not only am I going to be alone with the First Lady.
Right.
Because those planes were small.
Yeah, it's like, how do I get out? Oh, I can't.
No, I have to do this. Okay.
Right.
And she, obviously not her first airplane ride, but she enjoyed the hell out of it. She had a great time and couldn't say enough what a good pilot he had been. And she'd been friends with Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
So
my first two airplane rides were pre 9/11, so it was easy to get on a plane.
I haven't been on an airplane since 9/11, just for unconnected reasons.
Okay.
Mostly being poor.
Yeah. No, the last time I was on a plane, a guy was telling me that he hadn't been on a plane since before 9/11, and how due to his health, his daughter was insisting that he come visit her by plane, and you could just tell he was scared shitless. I felt so bad for the guy.
Gloria, I went to but 99. I flew to LA to see Boy Meets World live in person, and I went from the gate. I went from the parking lot to the gate in like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
interesting.
I used to fly as a kid, and my mom would walk right up to the gate with me.
Yeah, I remember those days. I had a cousin that played basketball abroad, and we would always. I loved going out to the airport with my mom and my aunt, and waiting, and we'd wave. We were pretty sure she couldn't see us, but we could just see the plane take off, and we just stood there in the terminal waiting until it left, and then when we could no longer see the plane in the sky, we left.
If you've ever seen Sleepless in Seattle, they go to pick someone up at the airport, and he and his kid are right at the gate waiting for her to get out of the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. last time I flew, like I think it was 2002 or three, 2023 or something like that. We got to the airport 3 hours early and still barely made our flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Unless I'm getting to the airport super early, like the very first plane to take off, I usually get, normally I get there 3 hours early, but wow, you barely made your flight. That's crazy.
So, I don't know if either of you have watched much of the way of MASH, but there's an episode where they're trying to get Charles to talk, and he's Boston, upper crust type. And Hawkeye delivers the insult that his parents voted for Roosevelt 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Boston, that was a class issue. But in the South, it wasn't just about class.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I remember hearing that in the South, it was initially considered difficult to get Southerners to switch because they would just reject out of hand a Republican because it was like synonymous with Lincoln, and fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, thinking of, back in you mentioned MASH. Like I think it was I don't know, it was for a lot of people, but I remember finding out that he had a sister or brother that was like disabled. It's like
his sister had a stutter, Honoria.
And he's like, well, he's not a pompous asshole.
I mean, he mostly is, but he's got some moments. That's why he's a better character than Frank Burns. But, because some of these New Deal programs actually hired Black people, that gave the Republicans a little bit of an edge because, one of the programs that I learned about in college was the Federal Theater Project. And they paid for theatrical troupes, partially just in cities, but also like there's a poem that I read about traveling with a traveling theatrical troupe through rural Florida. And there was an all Yiddish theater in New York where, you'd need one of those. And there were all Black theaters. Most of the cast of Amos and Andy, when they were hiring Black people, had gotten their start in the Federal Theater Project, in the all Black theaters. Very, very famously, Orson Welles did what was called Voodoo Macbeth, which was Macbeth set in the Caribbean with an all Black cast.
That is so cool. I want to
like
see that.
Right.
Oh my God.
I will die mad that it was never filmed. That's just,
right.
It's fine.
Why did you have to tell me that is a thing?
I know, because it's so magnificent and we're never going to get to see it.
Damn it.
But also there was the Federal Writers Project, and if you've ever read slave narratives, where they talk to former slaves and record what their lives had been like under slavery, that's a Federal Writers Project.
Okay.
Yeah.
They sent people to the South and found former slaves and recorded their stories, before they died.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned this.
This was the 1930s. They weren't young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned this in your slide. I didn't like to look ahead, but did any of this have to do with even today the current federal versus states' rights issue stuff?
I mean, states' rights goes back towards slavery. There's a speech that Reagan gave, I think during his first presidential campaign, right around there, where he mentions being in support of states' rights. And that was barely even a dog whistle. But it's also true that under Franklin Roosevelt, the power of the federal government was increasing. And things like federal anti-lynching laws were becoming a real possibility. And freaking Eisenhower sent in the National Guard to help desegregate an elementary school. Like, this was a real thing where the federal government was like, you know what? We have this Constitution. It says this thing. We're going to follow the thing the Constitution says. And that the Supreme Court was starting to find in favor of Black people over, Jim Crow legislation, for example. That's also a real issue. Brown versus Board of Education and so forth.
And I think I said this before, they're saying that the Republican Party here, they're all about states' rights unless the state disagree with them.
Right.
Well, I mean, it was like the Constitution, the U.S. was kind of founded on the whole notion of states' rights, which is why it's a dog whistle, right? The federal government is just supposed to help hold together the states, but the states should have the bulk of the rights. The feds jump in when those are being abused, or it shifts throughout time. But
yeah,
it's become a dog whistle. Like we want the right to keep our slaves. We want the right to, abuse our women. We want the right to, do X, Y, or Z, to preserve whiteness. And so it very quickly, like Julian is saying, very quickly becomes a dog whistle.
It's the lost cause mythology. Because they couldn't say, we fought a war to keep slaves, because that sounds bad.
Even though they wrote it in their own personal manifestos.
It's in the documents of secession.
Yeah,
you don't even have to look at their own.
I call them manifestos because they're indistinguishable from them.
I don't know if you've ever watched Checkmate Lincolnites.
No.
Yeah. But there's one where they're talking about the attitudes of the common Southerner. And he has this duffel bag full of printed out letters by ordinary soldiers, like no officers, is I think the requirement, all talking about how they really want to keep Black people down. Like, even the Johnny Reb character flat out nopes out of reading some of the letters because of how racist they are. So they didn't want to admit all of that because it made them look bad.
It wasn't just the rich
and people don't read. So.
Yeah, right. No, another one of these things I love telling people is I was once accused of having been brainwashed by my liberal hippie college, which, to be clear, yes, I went to a liberal hippie college. Don't deny this. But the specific reason I had been brainwashed was because I was citing those goddamn original secession documents to say that the Civil War was about slavery. And I was like, citing primary sources, brainwashing. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I hear there's a number of anti-atheist preachers who will like block you, quote Bible verses that contradict their talking
points.
It's
exactly that same thing.
Yeah.
So states' rights have become the excuse they were giving. And of course, the way to push back against that is to ask them states' rights to what? Because what's the answer to that question?
Right. To own slaves, maybe.
To own slaves.
Yeah.
But
is that what you wanted? Is that what's in your manifesto here? That you want the right to own slaves as a state?
I mentioned this during the back when the 2015 happened and the Supreme Court let everyone get married. They're like, they should let the state decide, and the state decided to vote for marijuana. They're like, that's a federal crime.
No, not like that. Yeah. So states' rights was a phrase that was getting tossed around this whole time. And you can tell what side someone tends to be on by use of the phrase states' rights. Dixiecrats. In 1948, Harry S. There's No Period Truman's desegregationist policies were notable enough for the white Democrats to create the States' Rights Democratic Party. States' rights to what? Nominating Strom Thurmond for president and hoping to win the South and force the election into the House of Representatives. Clearly, they failed. Truman kind of won in a landslide. It was a whole thing. Dewey defeats Truman and all of that.
Except for that paper thing.
Yes. Strom Thurmond, by the way, later switched to the Republican Party. If you want a single person example of the shift of parties, look no further than Strom Thurmond, who went from Democrat to states' rights Democrat to Republican.
Wait, I thought I could have sworn Strom stayed as a Democrat and then told, wasn't he the one that designated a successor, but told him to run as a Democrat?
No, he died a Republican.
Oh, I think it's weird because
it's when you change parties, and it's always been like this. You have to start at the bottom of the thing. So, like,
are you thinking about that more recent one, the Zell Miller guy?
No, it was during the switch. It would have been back during the Dixiecrat days.
During the Dixiecrat days, there was a certain amount of "we'll just pretend you've been on our side all along." Somewhere, but others stayed Democrats. And yeah, well, like I said, a certain amount.
Okay, I'll give it.
Yeah, I think it was it the 2004, 2008 election where the Democrat Zell Miller was at the Republican convention.
I don't remember, but I know for absolute certain because I remember strong.
There were some people that were promised that they would keep their seniority if they switched over, but it was not all of them.
Because I remember him because he's the one who said that, I think it was Chris Matthews, something like that, says, "I was still challenge you to a duel."
Yeah, no, that was not Strom Thurmond because Strom Thurmond was dead by then. He was not a young man, as evidenced by the fact that he was old enough to run for president in 1948, and I remember him. I also read his illegitimate half-black daughter's autobiography, which was an interesting read. Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
It was.
You guys send me the links to that book.
I will look it up and send it to you because it is a fascinating book because she's got to kind of deal with a whole lot of history.
Yeah. I'll bet.
So this was my father. Whoa. So anyway, more Black people moved out of the South for economic, social, and political opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And that included just being able to vote.
Yeah.
But also, if you wanted to run for office and you were a Black person, you were getting the hell out of the South.
Right.
Because it would be nice to not be lynched.
Yeah, which was not guaranteed.
Exactly. It wasn't fully guaranteed in the North either, but you were safer.
Yeah.
Was this the time of the poll taxes?
This is right around the time that poll taxes are being abolished.
48.
Or the literacy tests.
Literacy tests are at their height at this point.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. That's what I'm thinking about, the literacy test and the jelly bean.
I don't know
how many jelly beans are in this jar.
Yeah, I could not pass some of those literacy tests.
You know what? I looked them up. There were lawyers who write law that were unable to pass those tests. They're silly.
The Republicans began opposing things like anti-lynching legislation originally promoted by Republicans 80 years earlier. Which is another way you can tell there was a shift happening. This is not something we're making up here. You can trace who sponsors legislation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned this on our thing about how, I forget, Article 1 or whatever, they have a record. Congress keeps a record that they vote for.
It's in the Constitution that they have to have a congressional record. And right around this time, there was a document produced by the Southern senators and representatives in favor of segregation. And of the entire South, 3 people who were congressmen from the South didn't sign it. They were Al Gore Sr., Estes Kefauver, who I like saying the name of, because Estes Kefauver, and Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson was a complicated man. I maintain he was basically 2 presidents in a trench coat, both of which very much liked showing people his genitals. But if you purely look at him on the domestic front, he was a great president. Unfortunately, you can't, and you've got to look at, Vietnam. But a lot of the Kennedy civil rights legislation was really Johnson civil rights legislation.
Didn't you mention that he used Kennedy's death to get this stuff passed?
Oh, yes. We must pass this legislation in the name of our fallen leader, who did not himself personally give a damn about it, but I do, and so I'm going to use this. He blackmailed people. Lyndon Johnson went all out to pass civil rights legislation. Yeah. Say whatever else you like about the man. He got that stuff passed.
Yeah. That did happen.
He was a terrible person in many other ways. One of his favorite gags was he had an amphicar, which was a car that was also a boat. And he liked driving towards the lake on his property without telling people that it was an amphicar, and taking his feet off the pedals and screaming that the brakes had gone out and they were all going to die.
Was he the first? Was he the start of the Southern Democrat switch thing? Because he was a Texas Democrat, wasn't he?
He was a Texas Democrat. Yes, he was one of the big examples of the party shift, because he got his start as a Democrat. The fact that someone like LBJ, who was very, let's help the poor and let's give people equal rights, could have been a Democrat by the 1940s, tells you a lot about how the parties are starting to shift.
But you also
he was, let's be clear, more liberal than JFK.
Yeah, I mean, but the parties were, like, the platforms were identical around this time. So you had, they were both pretty purple. You would have, depending on the area that the person hails from, you would have had it a mixed bag of very liberal versus very conservative in both parties. So
a lot of it was very economic based.
Yeah.
And the urban-rural divide was a big thing too.
Mm-hmm. But like this whole thing, people have such short memory spans.
They do.
Like the parties being like lockstep, it's not. And even if it may have appeared that way, things move very slowly. It took the part of the the House Speaker and the Senate Majority Leader, it took them a very long time to get anything through and to secure the votes. It just wasn't. You didn't have this Trump figure, this Bush figure, this Reagan figure.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, if you don't do these things, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, I guess Bush wasn't really like that, but
no.
Like people saying, I'm not going to vote for this because you're the opposite party.
Yeah. Even in our lifetime, we haven't had that. It's been pretty. When we talk about bipartisan, it's not like, oh, it's a bipartisan bill because 2 Republicans jumped over, like we've been seeing lately. It really was a really good mix of both.
Yeah.
And even if like a Democrat voted for something, put a bill out, they could have gotten a bunch of, depending on the area, they could have gotten a bunch of and did get a bunch of Republicans to sign off on things.
Even Bill Clinton, who was a very divisive figure, and I'm not here to sing Bill's praises because he's flawed.
He had pluses and minuses.
But he was able to get bipartisan legislation passed, and the Republicans hated him personally.
Yeah. He got FMLA through. Bill got FMLA through. So, like, I'm always going to be grateful for that. And that was bipartisan. Like, and it just wouldn't happen today.
Yeah, there's so many things. You know,
was part of the reason that because he was a Southern Democrat again?
That probably helped. He was
it definitely helped get Southern votes.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's probably the last time Arkansas voted Democrat.
Seriously. One of the most interesting things about Barack Obama is that he is, since FDR, no, I guess it would be from Kennedy through to Obama, every Democratic president was also a Southerner.
Like Carter?
Yeah, Carter was from Georgia.
Yep.
LBJ was from Texas. Clinton was from Arkansas. Okay, so next slide. This is an actual Lyndon Johnson quote. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Man, he understood.
Yeah.
And
we just don't get congressmen like that anymore. Which this is evil. Like, we just, we put that out there first.
Yeah.
But he was in the trenches. He was with the people. He could have actually gone there and he had such an understanding that he could have just turned it around rather than working with the demonic forces. Which, I'm saying tongue in cheek, but now they don't. All of them, both sides, just think we're stupid. We can't be reasoned with. And what they're doing right now is just like, okay, what do they believe? Or we'll just let them believe that and do whatever we need to do behind their backs.
You know what he said as he signed the Voting Rights Act? He said, "We have lost the South for a generation."
Oh, that was Lyndon. Why did I think that was somebody else? All right.
No, that was Johnson.
Okay.
I mean, Johnson knew the South.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the only thing he didn't know was that he was underestimating.
Is this the one, or has it been more? Has it been 2 or 3 generations now?
It's been multiple generations because that was
right.
64.
But he wouldn't have.
No,
I think he would have understood that he was being conservative with the one generation, but I don't.
Probably.
Nobody saw what was coming. So
yeah, no, it was. I don't think Johnson was capable of seeing how low people like Nixon and Lee Atwater were capable of stooping.
Right.
Which, to be fair, was pretty low.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So, hard to blame him. Barry Goldwater, too conservative for the South. Goldwater's 1964 campaign was damaged not by Johnson's support of civil rights, at least not entirely, but by his stances against Southern projects like tobacco subsidies, the Tennessee Valley Authority, and the space program, because all of those brought jobs, or in the case of tobacco subsidies, just, cash money. And he wanted to cut all of them, and that lost him a lot of votes.
Yeah.
However, in addition to his home state of Arizona, he won 5 states in the Deep South.
Mm-hmm. Wait, weren't those the only states he won, though?
Those were the only states he won. Arizona and 5 states. He won just this swath from Louisiana to the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget.
And no one else.
No one else. But
he
didn't win North Carolina because he wanted to cut tobacco subsidies.
Yeah, I've been misremembering this, but I forget what channel it wasn't. But I think someone said that he actually voted some pro equal rights stuff.
Yeah, he was not. I mean, he was very much in favor of keeping the Republican focus on white people, but he was not as racist as some of the other Republicans he knew personally. He was a different kind of crazy. It's fine. Barry Goldwater was a lot.
He was alive.
He was a very special man, was Barry Goldwater. But he did endorse the idea of, hey, let's keep pushing, anti-forced busing was a big one. And to be strictly fair to Barry Goldwater, I don't know how much of that was exclusively racism, so much as it was his opposition to the government doing things. So I don't.
But definitely the racism.
The racism was there, and I'm not going to say it wasn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be exclusively the racism. It was definitely the racism.
The racism was there. I'm not saying it's not. But also,
he was a special little guy.
If you look at his policies, they're very libertarian. And forced busing is having the government do something to fix a problem. And he wasn't a big fan of that. Hence his opposition of the Tennessee Valley Authority, which does things like provide electricity to the rural South and help prevent flooding.
Yeah.
Like, who do you have to be to oppose the Tennessee Valley Authority?
I'm pretty sure.
Doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if Trump didn't like it, it wouldn't get approval today. And depending on who today would be pushing for it.
What state was it that turned down the flooding protection just because Biden voted for it, wanted it, and then they got flooded?
Oh gosh, that might have been Texas.
Yeah, I was thinking Texas, but I can't. Don't quote me on
remember, but yeah, like
they got
really any southern state is up for grabs at this point. We see all of them in recent years have pushed back against accepting things from Democrat presidents, and all of them have been flooded with pretty much every year. Yeah. So,
but California just needs to rake the forests, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. My favorite part is how none of them wanted money to feed their children.
Yeah,
that was great too.
Oh boy!
So
my favorite part is that their gerrymandering backfired.
So far,
but they counted on Hispanic males consistently voting with Republicans.
Yeah, my favorite one is the we'll stop giving you federal funding. And it was like, okay.
Yeah. Turns out that the states that give the most into the federal coffers are consistently blue states.
Yeah.
So,
but if you go woke, you go broke, don't you know?
That is what I've been told. So yeah, so Barry Goldwater won Arizona and 5 deep South states, and that was it. Because even the South was like, maybe we'll take the guy who likes civil rights over the guy who wants to, take away our electricity. George Wallace, last of the Dixiecrats. Technically, this is 1968, Wallace ran with the American Independence Party. Third party spoiler. However, his stance on racial issues served to make Nixon look like a moderate.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, he ran on the segregation now, segregation forever type.
Right.
Platform. Yeah.
I
And
didn't
for
know he
some reason,
ran
I can
for.
pronounce
Wait,
the word
I didn't know he ran
segregation.
for. I didn't know he ran for president.
Oh yeah, I got shot while it happened too. For some reason, when I'm talking about these people, I end up saying segregation. I can pronounce that word, but when I'm talking like a Southern politician, it just comes out weird.
That's fine. We get it. We get it.
I think it's because of how they say it. Nixon framed racial issues as law and order issues, setting the pattern for decades to come. Also, it's worth noting that he was against mandatory busing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was
really
another dog whistle.
He really was.
So I don't know if you know this one, the mandatory busing thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually under mandatory busing in high school.
What?
Seriously, Pasadena. These days, I believe it's more about economic issues because Pasadena is so racially mixed that it's hard to segregate a school by neighborhood, by ethnicity. But back in the day, there were black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods and so forth. And so the Pasadena Unified School District for the high schools had mandatory busing to desegregate our high schools in California.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're really young for that. I didn't know they were still doing that. My mom was under, what do you call it? Yeah, she was one of those kids that were,
They've never rescinded it, is my understanding.
Yeah, probably, but no, I didn't know they had continued. I thought the states had like done some other redistricting things.
But I think California was just like, no, we're gonna keep desegregating our schools as long as they need it. But because our school district couldn't afford buses for the high school students, I got an LA County bus pass instead.
Oh no, yeah, they do that. I want to say every major city that I know does that.
It was great. I could cut school and go all over the county, and that's a big county.
Yeah, for free.
It's awesome. For free. It was great. From law and order to welfare queens. Under Reagan, the rhetoric became economic. Rather than complain about forced busing and law and order, the law and order is still there, and we get Willie Horton under Bush the Elder and so forth. The new rhetoric was complaining about lazy people who cheated the system and took away your hard-earned tax dollars. This had the convenient bonus of folding in immigrants who were now both lazy and taking our jobs.
Yeah. And it's so funny, like when the program started, it was considered like patriotic to have these things. And, you were doing the godly thing because, after all, Jesus commanded that we protect these people. Cut to 1980s, only the lazy, want, handouts.
The idea that it was okay to let elderly people starve.
Yeah.
Started being okay again in the 80s.
Was it in the 80s that the church people started voting Republicans too?
When? What people?
The church people.
Yeah.
Reagan.
The 70s. The role of churches in U.S. politics is long and complicated.
Yeah.
But with Reagan, he really made an alliance with the conservative evangelical churches. The abortion thing.
I mean, he jumped on it. I think he jumped on it. And I think he got the fruits of their labor. But that wasn't just Reagan.
It's interesting that two of the presidents that the conservative evangelicals idolize the most are also the only two U.S. presidents who have been divorced.
Interesting.
Because Reagan was divorced, and of course,
Well, and again, it's not, I don't know. They did seem to idolize Reagan. With Trump, I don't know that they idolize him so much as though they see him ushering in God's will. So there
have literally been golden statues.
Well, Trump has they've erected a few golden statues to Trump.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Reagan wasn't quite the same sort of, we will blindly follow you wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
But there was definitely that rhetoric, especially in like the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
about, oh, we should do things the way Reagan would. It's like, I don't know if you remember Reagan the way that I do. I know that he doesn't remember Reagan the way that I do.
Yeah, like the night, like was it the 90s? That was the, like, they talked about the big GOP revival in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, freaking Newt Gingrich.
And again, Whispers is saying he's called the Great White Hope, but again, he's a conduit for God. He's not God.
Yeah.
So, like, for an idol is an embodiment of the God. And I'm not going to say there's nobody out there that believes that, but it's not when you talk to conservatives in aggregate, they believe that he's going to usher in the coming of Jesus. They don't believe he is. They don't see him the same way they would have seen Jesus, like as a God, like he is part of the Trinity, like Trump is just a conduit. There's a term for it too. There's somebody that's supposed to usher in, like somebody who's supposed to come before.
The Antichrist.
I think it's either right before or right after that.
I don't remember. I haven't read it in a very long time.
They have a term for it, and I forget what that is, but that's what they think Trump is.
Yeah,
like he's that signal, but the godly one. That's saying
like
that
the John the Baptist before the
yeah, that kind of thing.
No, and I think that the rhetoric gets very confused depending on who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some.
Yeah, I mean, because they're not lockstep. They're not a monolith.
Yeah.
They all have, different ideations and motivations, and pastor. They're gonna be different depending on their pastor too. They're gonna have nuance. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to say that they're all lockstep, which is why I'm saying, yeah, I'm not going to say you're never going to find one guy that's like, yep, Trump is God, but like, I think there's a reason they're putting him on the pedestal.
I'm not trying to be literal with idolization.
Yeah.
But there is definitely he's better than we are.
Yeah.
Attitude that you get. And it's really unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that happened. I think that the first 4 years wasn't that much, but I think that was more after the election was stolen crowd came about in 2020.
The election was stolen crowd, and then it got really weird after the assassination attempt.
It did. That was really weird.
Because there were some people who literally think he was saved by God.
Mm-hmm.
It's creepy. It's, I'm not going to tell people how to believe, but it's creepy and weird, and maybe don't.
It's creepy.
And then our last slide. Electing Obama means racism is over. Right?
Sure.
I had to explain to one of my children that wasn't true.
I have to explain to liberals all the time. They're like, but we had a black president. And I'm like, I'm going to say it made things worse. I don't mean it to sound as bad as it does.
No,
but they lost their ever-loving minds when that happened. And you just don't get a Trump without an Obama. I'm sorry.
No. And
the funny thing is, I think it was pre-Obama. I think wasn't Trump kind of Democrat-ish party?
So he was registered.
Trump has never had a consistent political stance.
He was a registered Democrat, though.
He was for a while, but he was Reform Party for a while.
When he was running, yeah. He ran, was it he 3?
Oh gosh, I don't remember what it was, but it was.
Yeah, it was more than one.
Yeah, I think at one time he wanted to have Oprah as his running mate.
Yeah, he talked about having.
I thought that was a rumor.
And he.
I'll check.
So I don't know if you remember the Reform Party. That was Ross Perot's party. He was going to run for president as a Reform Party candidate. The thing is in order for him to have had a consistent political identity, he would actually have to care about politics. And I put it to you that he does not, except as a means to an end.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. And in 2000, Trump formed an exploratory committee to seek the nomination of the Reform Committee, though he withdrew from a race before the primaries began.
Yeah. His philosophy has always been about, will this make me money or give me power? I don't think he thinks of it on any more complicated a level than that.
Is that why he started the birth certificate thing?
Well, and racism.
I was going to say, I think that's just racism. I think it's the same reason that he put out a full page ad to have the Central Park Five convicted after they were exonerated. Just goddamn racist. I don't understand why that's ever been questionable.
He still will not acknowledge that they're innocent.
No.
He also was literally found guilty in a court of law of refusing to rent properties to Black people. He's just racist, guys. Like, is that part of his blood? No, it's just, he's racist, he's classist, he's sexist, he's just a bigot.
Yeah, and his father was in the KKK. He was card carrying. He had the garb. We have photos of it.
Had a song written about him by Woody Guthrie saying how awful he was. Personally, do you know how few people you can say that about? Like, literally, personally, just him. There's a song about him by Woody Guthrie. Meanwhile, his uncle worked with Tap's grandfather, so there's also that.
Lest we forget.
Yeah, no, he called for the death penalty, and it wasn't before they were exonerated. It was before the woman had died, or had before they knew she was going to live or die. He was calling for them to be executed for murder before the trial. And she didn't die. She's still alive today. So it wasn't even a death penalty case. And he was calling for the execution of 4 of them, I believe, were literal children at the time. I think one of them was a legal adult. But the other 4 were all literal children.
Do you think some of the South was starting to switch back? Isn't that why they tried to do that Texas redistricting?
Wait, when?
Part of it is demographic shift. Texas in particular, the demographics of Texas are increasingly Hispanic over white.
Mm-hmm.
And Hispanic voting is really, really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Because, among other things, there's a lot of where exactly your family is from. Like, Cubans historically vote much more conservative than, say, Mexicans. Because Cubans have the whole anti-communist thing, and a lot of them are refugees from the Castro administration.
And none of them know the difference between communism and authoritarianism, which is great. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's that too. And also, like, certain Latin American ethnicities think that they are better than other Latin American ethnicities, and how white your ancestors are factors in. So that you can't even really call it a voting bloc because it's way too complicated. However, the Republicans have been relying on them staying conservative because they went for Trump very, very heavily in the last election.
Yeah, I heard this. The Spanish colonists and English colonists. One of the differences was, since the Spanish came over mainly as the conquistadors, they were more likely to interbreed with the Native Americans. While as English people, we brought our wives and stuff over, so we didn't interbreed with them that much.
That's really oversimplified.
Okay.
But It is true that there was a lot more interbreeding between the Spanish and the native population and the Spanish and Black populations than there was people of English descent. And I watch a lot of Finding Your Roots because it's a fascinating show and an interesting way to learn history. And every once in a while, you get somebody and find out that their ancestors were doing cousin marriage for generations to keep the pure Spanish blood in the family. And you go back far enough and you can find the Native American or Black ancestor before they all started marrying their cousins. So it was already too late. So it's a really complicated thing, and racial identity, there's a reason you get two different boxes for Hispanic people on like census forms and things of, do you consider yourself white if you are Hispanic, or what population are you within that community? Because it is a really complicated issue going back to colonialism. However, one thing I think we can universally agree that the Hispanic population in the United States doesn't like is being deported to foreign torture prisons. They may not care about other people being deported to foreign torture prisons, but they don't like themselves being deported to foreign torture prisons. And so they're less likely to vote for people who make that a possibility.
And you mentioned Henry VIII and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Spanish and the French immigrant, I keep saying the immigrants, that their colonists were more Catholic and the English were more not Catholic.
Yeah, and religion in the British colonies gets complicated because which colony you're talking about is going to change the religious makeup of the colony, because some of them were, like Maryland was where English Catholics go to get away from persecution.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Massachusetts is where they go so they can persecute a lot of people. But yeah, it's colonization was complicated. It turns
to say the least.
But in my hometown, there are people whose families have been there since before the U.S. controlled the area.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still in danger of being deported because
because
it turns out that the current government doesn't care.
Like the port. Not funny, right? Have Trump's people try to deport the Native Americans.
Yeah, and at least one Native American person has nearly been deported, which is madness.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the techniques that they're using for other immigrant groups are techniques that were used on Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was Haitians, and Haiti is another place where the ethnic stuff is complicated. But the whole they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats is the sort of thing you can absolutely see said about Black people in the South in like the 20s.
Apparently, I said before, apparently that was happening 10 miles from where 20 miles from where I live.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Like Springfield, Ohio was like a 20-minute drive from me.
And I had at my high school 3 or 4 staff members who had been in the Japanese internment camps.
Oh my God.
During World War II. One of them was Ms. Rodriguez, because she did not marry a Japanese man. But, that's part of our historical legacy. Even in liberal Los Angeles County.
Yeah.
These are things we're all
I mean,
having
yeah,
to deal with.
they were, if you were America in
Yeah.
Japanese, you had to go. So there wasn't a state,
It was
state.
primarily West Coast. And they
Unless you're
didn't
Well, yeah,
they
because
didn't
the
intern people.
Japanese were the ones that were building the railroads, which
So
went across
the,
country.
the
And
Chinese
then,
were primarily building the railroads.
yeah,
But they didn't evacuate the Japanese people in Hawaii because it was logistically impossible. They were too large a percentage of the population of the islands, and also you would have to literally ship them to the mainland. And they didn't have the ships to do that. There was a war on. And yet, guess how many acts of sabotage there were by Japanese, civilians of Japanese descent in the Hawaiian Islands during World War II?
oh, you know what? I've never looked into that.
It is 0.
And weren't a lot of the Japanese people fighting on the European side?
Yeah, a friend of mine, her father was a member of the 442nd, which is the single most decorated unit in World War II. And it was all Japanese guys out of the internment camps. Literally, my friend's father was in that unit. That is how close that is in history.
Yeah.
And my mother grew up in the town she did because her father had been a guard at the Santa Anita racetrack when it was an internment camp. So, yeah, my own family is part of that history, and not in a good way. And that doesn't make it my fault, because my mother wasn't born yet. Oh, no. They use census records to tell the difference between the Japanese and the Chinese.
Yeah.
And IRS records. They used paperwork.
The
same way
They were a lot more meticulous than ICE.
Yeah, the same. I can say it's not the same way that ICE is taking their people.
No, not at all.
No, they were
now it's different because they were actually serious about finding Japanese in particular. Yeah. They weren't interested. It wasn't like this is a xenophobic hate crime, really. That's being ICE went okay. The administration and Stephen Miller in particular, we oddly wants all people of color out of the country, all of them.
Yeah.
Even the natives. So they can do whatever. Like they're never going to get in trouble. Like the most trouble they would get in is for like being found to have overlooked someone.
Yeah.
Whereas, so I mean, it's different motives.
China was our ally during World War II. And they were helping to fight the Japanese, which was kind of important to us. Fun fact, my birthday is the day before Pearl Harbor Day. My older sister's birthday is September 10th. So she messaged me like September 13th or 14th, 2001. It was like, hey, you're not the only person in the family with the birthday before a major attack on the U.S. anymore. I was like, thanks, Elaine. You helped.
Nice.
But no, they were very careful. The FBI was involved. They were using IRS records. They were using census records. Also, in those days, there, even today, in a lot of places, you don't get quote unquote Asian neighborhoods. You get Chinese neighborhoods and you get Japanese neighborhoods and Korean and what have you. In a lot of places in the US, Asian populations are still very defined by where in Asia they are from.
Yeah, because won't they like since Japan took over Korea and China? Are they like very like if they call you Japanese, they get very mad?
Yeah. Less so these days. These days, you're more likely to get an eye roll, and white people think we all look alike. But in the 1940s, a Chinese person would almost consider it a deadly insult. And certainly
But
a
I mean,
Korean person.
yeah, I mean, but we get the same thing from Europeans too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I
Europeans
was
do
like
look
very
alike, so it's
recently
okay.
that like Korea. I was like recently that Korea banned a lot of Pokemon episodes that had Japanese cultures in it.
Wouldn't surprise me. And Japan has never really acknowledged what they did in Korea and China. The word comfort women, well, phrase comfort women, is not something the Japanese government wants to acknowledge. So for the record, it's not just the US being like that. That doesn't make it better, but it's something. So if you swept up a Korean person claiming that they were Japanese, it would have been a lot, and there would have been this horrible court fight, and they would have won.
So are you saying all cultures can be racist?
Yeah. I do know, it's anecdotal, but I do know of one Black person who was actually in one of the internment camps because she was married to a Japanese guy, and she disguised herself to be in the camp with her husband.
Huh.
There's a book called Farewell to Manzanar that is about a girl's personal experiences in the Manzanar internment camp. And she talks about this woman as one of the people who kind of stands out in her memory as people she knew in the camp. Yeah. She's like, I didn't realize until I was an adult what was going on with that. I mean, she was 6. The hell does she know?
It's not just a white-black thing either. It's white Germans are racist against white Polish people, white Poles.
Oh, yeah. No, Brexit was all about racism.
100%.
The wrong white people were coming into England. And maybe it's the neighborhood I grew up in that makes me wonder why people make such a big deal out of, oh, you look different than I do. But I was one of 6 white kids in my graduating class in high school out of 120. Jeez. Yeah. I was the minority in high school. I get told a lot that I've never been the only white person in a room, and I'm like, yes, actually I have. It was called English class. Yeah, it happened to me a lot in high school. I don't know. I have pictures. It's okay.
No, but I mean, oh wait, what were we talking about before that? Oh, why people? I think most of it's cultural, and we fear things we don't understand, and rather than being open minded about something, and especially if everybody around us is freaking the fuck out and we have Russians like pumping propaganda into our veins or over our phones, whatever. It's just really hard to make sense of your surroundings. And then people get more scared, and then comes more fear. And at the end of the day, the brain doesn't like change, and it doesn't like ambiguity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're really fighting ourselves with it. Which is why we need to like promote critical thoughts like a lot, and it doesn't seem to be a priority for a lot of systems.
Irish are the one kind of white people.
Yeah, well, the Irish went through a stretch of not being white, so yeah. When Kennedy was running for president, Martin Luther King Sr. told Black people not to vote for him because he was Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And Kennedy's response to that was, imagine Martin Luther King having a father who's a bigot. Well, we all have fathers, don't we? It was like, yeah, I don't care what he was saying. He was still better than your father. And I think JFK would have agreed with me about that. Robert Kennedy Jr. had to go a long way to become the worst Kennedy, but
he made it. He
finally made it. Hooray! Yeah. I see a lot of people like, well, their food is weird. Like, all food is weird. Food as a concept is kind of weird. And also, like, how much of your personal diet is from just where your ancestors lived? The answer is none of it. And I don't care where you're from. I'm going to, unless you're like, you're the North Sentinelese, I'm going to say that something in your diet is not from where your ancestors lived. Because, you know, chocolate is a New World food, vanilla is a New World food, potatoes, corn, wheat, oats, barley, beef, pork are Old World foods. Most herbs are Old World, most spices are Old World.
Do you remember, speaking of food and stuff, do you remember post 9/11 where we were trying to rename French fries?
Freedom fries!
Freedom fries, yeah. That was fun.
They did the same thing back during World War I. And sauerkraut became Liberty cabbage.
We're so stupid.
Humans are weird.
Anything else you need? Anything else either of you want to say about this topic, about how the future of it, the past of it, the current of it?
I like to hope that enough people are interacting, even if it's just online, with people from other ethnic groups, socioeconomic groups, what have you, that racism will not be as overpowering. That's a hope. You know, I'm aware of what the reality looks like. But I will say that one of the things I did during the Black Lives Matter protest was to make sure I had a talk with my 7-year-old blonde white boy son about the importance of equal rights for everyone, including Black people.
Good for you.
What's the word they say, that racism isn't born, it's taught?
Yeah. And my son's response was that his bullies in elementary school at that point had all been white kids. So, you know, I was like, well, that is actually true. Yes.
Like, you're not born, first day out of the womb, I'm going to be racist growing up.
No, there's, I think it's in South Pacific, which is not a musical I like, but anyway, You've Got to Be Carefully Taught is the name of the song, and it's about racism. And hopefully fewer people are teaching their kids to be bigots. And hopefully more of those kids are teaching themselves not to be.
I don't know about it on the kid level, but, you know, certainly, like, as an adult, you have resources that you need to be using.
Yeah.
So, Mai, what's coming up on your channels, or channel? I say
channel, yeah. Tomorrow we're doing our first episode of Only Physics. So
Physics is hard.
Physics is hard. Which is why it's going to be just Dr. Tapioca Weasel and Leo Phileas jacking each other off for 2 hours.
Oh yeah, I've become a villain I've become a villain on Tapioca's channel now.
No,
'cause
I
gave him
appreciate
content.
that. Yeah. Keep him coming. He loves it. He loves it. More of that, please.
I just look forward to seeing how often you can ban him from Budget Scripture Sunday, or Saturday, rather. That's always fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. I was surprised that people wanted me to. Because
After you left,
I thought I was kidding, but then the chat was like, what is taking her so long? People started paying for me to ban him.
After you left, he asked who was going to do it now, and I told him if somebody talked Kip into giving me a wrench, then I would do it.
But you, Julian, what's coming up on your Media Magpie channel?
Hopefully, I promised Tap that I would watch the core before I re-interviewed him, so that's going to take until I can bear to watch the core. But in the print side of things, Month of Chris continues. I've got Chris Penn today and Christina Applegate tomorrow. I don't remember what I'm writing about for Wednesday. I don't know if I've got it figured out yet. But Month of Chris, I believe, is followed by Month of Crossing Jordan people. Yes, which means that I've got Mahershala Ali coming up. So that's going to be fun.
As for me, unless something happens, the podcast will be taking a 3-week break because next week is Thanksgiving week, so people will be busy. And 2 weeks is your birthday, so you'll be busy.
It is my birthday.
Aw, happy birthday.
Thank you.
But then in 3
I refuse
weeks,
to do a show on my birthday.
Oh, okay.
you don't want to work on your birthday?
Well,
that
you know,
way.
if you're looking for something to do on your birthday, Tap and I will be doing. It'll just be me and him doing the stream, but we will be on.
Well, that'll be the day after my birthday, but I would definitely
never mind.
consider. Yeah.
But in 3 weeks, Jillian will be back. We're going to be talking about MCU Phase 2. And then week after that, will be our current season finale. Where we can be continuing our document history, talking about the original rights document, quote, the Magna Carta. Where the nobility wanted more rights.
You have to go back and read it again. I haven't done that in a really long time.
Gotta get those Dukes rights, you know.
Yeah, well, it was barons, but yeah.
Yeah.
And for once, it's not King Henry's fault.
And then in January, we're still scheduling that right now, but Kip will be on my channel for the season 14 premiere.
Nice. Promoting his not a book.
Any last things you guys want to say?
No.
As always, never stop learning. Enjoy the randomness. We will see you
Thanks for having
next
me
time.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching my podcast or Let's Play. If you want to help support my channel, you can make a monthly or yearly pledge on Patreon, or just a one-time donation on Vimeo, PayPal, or Cash App. For those looking for something to wear, we have some shirts, hats, and other stylish things in our merch store. If you enjoy gaming, you can always follow and sub to me on Twitch. For those who don't want to give money, I have an Amazon and Steam wish list who can help the channel out. And of course, just liking, leaving a comment, and sharing this video helps more than you can imagine. And always remember to never stop learning. Enjoy the randomness.